What up, everybody? Welcome back to the program. It is T minus 11 days. We are Ken Dorsey days away from the start of the Miami Hurricanes season. I can't believe how fast the offseason's gone. Just like that, boom. It felt like 90 days, 60 days, all of a sudden 11 days away from our game at the Swamp against the Florida Gators. So today, you see it in the title, potential trap games. I'm going to dive right in. So before I do, please make sure go down, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. Got to make sure and get that out of the way first. So trap games. I look at the schedule, and first of all, let's define what a trap game is. To me, at least, it's a game that can catch you by surprise. One that maybe you don't get up for the game. It's maybe somebody on your schedule that's kind of an afterthought, but they find a way to sneak up and beat you. That to me is a trap game. Going through the schedule, let's see here. Obviously, you got the big one against Florida. We've had all off season to prepare for that. So that by no means is that a trap game. That's a rivalry game. If anything, that's the complete opposite. So hopefully we take care of business there. Then on September 7th, you got Florida A&M. That is an FCS opponent, that usually we take care of business handedly. Usually that's like a 50, 60 point victory. Hopefully this season is no different. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of freshmen, a lot of the young guys get into that game. Now, then you go into, you start little by little, it starts increasing a little by little in difficulty. Then the following week on September 14th, you have Ball State. Ball State, I believe, was 4-8 last year. They are not in a very good conference. Simply put, they are not a very good football team. We're playing them at home. I believe they are honoring the 89 national championship team at the half. So no reason this shouldn't be another blowout victory and another chance to get the young guys in there and get them some work. Let's see. And then we go into September 21st. Okay, so this is the first, after the Florida game, this is the first, real kind of test, in my opinion. This is at South Florida. So it reminds me a lot of the 2013 season when we beat Florida week 2. And then after that, the pressure was kind of off. And the next few weeks, we were just kind of clicking on all cylinders. And I think we played Savannah State the week right after. We beat them by 70. And then we go up to South Florida, kind of similar scenario to this year. We go up to South Florida, and that game was never close. I mean, never. It was a complete blowout. We dominated. So I don't quite seeing it go exactly like that. I do expect at least a 2 or 3 touchdown victory, but I wouldn't be surprised if their offense puts points on the board against us, especially with a guy like Byron Brown at quarterback. You have a dynamic quarterback. He has a couple of really good receivers. Sean Atkins is an excellent slot receiver. They could frustrate us a bit offensively, but I don't see them stopping our offense outside of us committing lots of turnovers. I don't see that happening. I think, and also I think we're going to have a lot of our fans there because it's right there in Tampa. It's not a far drive up. So especially if we, after we beat Florida week 1, if we go into that game 3-0, I really believe we're going to have a pretty good showing fan-wise at that stadium. We have in the past. So I don't see South Florida as a potential trap game, to be quite honest with you. What's up, Mitch? Kick Gator arse in a couple of weeks. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I am feeling confident about that game. I do consider that game. I do think that will be a W for us. I think we'll take care of business. It'll be a fun game. I think it'll be close, competitive at times. I have it being like a 27-24 game, but don't be shocked if we pull away, maybe score a touchdown and kind of ice it sometime in the fourth quarter. But I'm confident about that one as of right now. So yes, time to revive wide right. I hope it doesn't come down to that. I hope we kick FSU's ass, to be honest with you. But yes, Hero, good point. I will get to Cal now in a second. But that is that is a crazy travel that people aren't considering. So South Florida, again, I'm not really too nervous about that one. I think we'll be okay. Then the following week is a big one. This is our first like test, like real test. This is our ACC opener. Okay. At home against Vatech. I've said it many times before. This is kind of like the Georgia Tech game last year, round two, like kind of a chance for a redo, basically. So you got South Florida, or coming off of South Florida, you got this game 6 days later. So it's on a short week. It's on a Friday. They also are coming off a short week, and they have to go on the road to face us. It's a question mark whether we're going to have a great atmosphere for this game. I'm not going to lie. Coming into it 4-0, you think we would. If we, coming off a win against Florida, I would think the hype around the program would be that much more heightened. Even though it's a Friday, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in the 45 to 48,000 range, which if you've been to games, if you're a season ticket holder, you know that alone is enough to get that stadium loud. I think it was like 47 or 48,000 for the A&M game last year, and there was an atmosphere. The only reason it's not going to be 50, 55,000 is because it's not a Saturday night game. I wish it was, but it's on a Friday. But I don't see that as a trap game, and here's why. I'm not saying it's a win automatically. I think it's going to be very tough. I see that one being close as well. First of all, if you look at Vatech's schedule, this is why I don't see it as a trap game, because they're coming in, they're starting the season against Vanderbilt. That should be a win. They were 2-10 last year. Then you go back home to face Marshall. That should be a win. At Old Dominion, I know that they've given them fits in the past, but I think that's going to be a win as well. Outside of it being like a really bad weather game or some monkey wrench being thrown into it, I think that's a win. And then back to Lane Stadium against Rutgers, it's going to be a whiteout game, it looks like, and that should be a victory as well. So it's highly likely that they come into this game 4-0. If they come into this game 4-0, they're going to be ranked. It's highly likely that we go into this game 4-0 and are also ranked. I mean, we're already number 19. We start 4-0. Don't be surprised if we're like 10th or something. So 4-0 versus 4-0, this is going to be probably two ranked opponents going head to head on a Friday night, national audience to themselves. How can you not get up for that game as a player? I don't know how you don't get up for that game as a player. A trap game, again, to me, is one you don't get up for whatever reason, the opponent, where it's played, whatever, the atmosphere, whatever. They're going to be up for this game. Trust me. Will Vatech be Miami Knights game? I'm not sure. I don't think they've officially announced it yet. That would be cool if they did, to kind of exercise the demons of last season's ACC opener, which we also wore the black jerseys, but I like these jerseys. As cool as those were, I didn't hate the black jerseys last year with the glow in the dark effect, like the neon touch to it. I thought it was cool, but I feel like they finally got the black jerseys right, like 100% right this time. They're so nice with the orange letters, and it's beautiful. I hope they break them out for that game. That would be really cool. But again, for that reason, I think this is going to be a big, hyped, nationally televised game when we get to it. So not a trap game. And I think we have an advantage, and here's why. On top of it being at home, we play Byron Brown the week before, who's a very similar quarterback to Kyron Drones. They're dynamic. They have the dual threat, but they're both excellent passers. If you spend an entire week preparing for Byron Brown, okay, watching film, working on stuff in practice, preparing for Byron Brown, then you play him in a live game. Then after that, you watch the film, see what you did right, see what you did wrong, tweak a few things, prepare another week, another 5 days for Kyron Drones, who's a similar quarterback. You're essentially preparing for 2 straight weeks for Kyron Drones. That gives us a nice head start and lets our defense get acclimated. I think we come away with a W there. I'll do my official wins and loss prediction on another show. That'll come soon, but that's just my thoughts on that game in particular. Again, not a trap game. Next, let's go to the next game here. That would be at Cal, October 5th. Is that after a bye week? No. So you're going to have an extra day to prepare because the Vatech game was on a Friday. So you go up to Cal, And that's going to be if I read it correctly, I don't know if it's true or not. If somebody in the chat can let me know. I believe the game against Cal is going to be the farthest we've traveled for a road game since we played Washington in 2000. Let me say that again. Since we played Washington in 2000, that's 24 years ago. Okay? That's a long way to travel. Remember, these are 18, 19, 20-year-old young men, all right? Like many of them maybe haven't traveled that far yet in their life. So it's going to, they're going to need to acclimate to the time zone and everything. And yeah, it's that's not going to be easy. But the good news there is you're going to face a Cal team that's not very good. They were 6-7 last year, but they have an excellent running back. Jaden Ott, in my opinion, is one of the best running backs in the country, but the best running back in the ACC. Yes, that's right. I have him ahead of Damian Martinez. Love Damian Martinez. I think he's right behind him. I think Damian's top 10, top 15 in the country as well. But Jaden Ott is ridiculous. We definitely have to control him. And if you can stop the run or at least slow him down and make Mendoza have to throw the ball a little bit, I think we'll be okay. And offense just kind of has to just perform up to expectations or close to expectations and take care of the football. The theme this year is taking care of the football. You do that, this offense will continue rolling and, until we get to the end of the season when we look back and, we might be 11-1 or 12-0. But again, got to take care of the football. And I think it's paramount in that game. So I think, to me, the Cal game is the first real potential trap game. It's not a team that's very good. It's a team that I think we're gonna and should beat, but the travel is a factor. The fact that they're coming off whatever happens in the Vatech game, you could have an emotional letdown coming after the Vatech game. Hopefully not, but that's going to be a big physical game that they play the weekend right before. They got to turn it right around, hop in a plane, fly 5 hours or whatever it is to California and get ready for this game in their house. And that stadium's going to be packed because they're playing us. Just like when we went up to App State a few years back. I mean, it was like the biggest game in their stadium's history or something because we were there. Okay. So they got to be on the lookout for that one. They got to be up for that game. And that's where I think our veteran leadership needs to take over. Because in the past, we may have had veterans, we didn't have leadership. Now I feel like we have leaders. So that's where you can kind of overcome things like that. So then you go into your bye week, hopefully undefeated, and you have an extra week to prepare for Louisville. Now, Mario Cristobal has not, I wouldn't say Mario Cristobal. No head coach in recent memory has had much luck with this team coming off a bye week for whatever reason. For me, that's a culture issue that I think is getting fixed. Okay. Hopefully we don't see that again this year, but we are heading into one of our tougher games on the schedule. I think right after Florida and Florida State, this is the next toughest game, possibly. This one or Vatech. And you're going to face Coach Brom, who gave Coach Landry fits last year. He was really the one guy that that got Lance Guidry. And, he was able to figure out that little tight end play that kept getting us. So hopefully Guidry is out for revenge. I'm sure he is. But that's another one that I don't call that a trap game because it's going to be, again, Louisville's probably going to be ranked. We're going to be ranked. It's going to be a high profile game. It's probably going to be a night game. You got to get up for that one. But it's on the road. Just historically over the past 20 years, we haven't been great at ACC games on the road. I'm thinking back to, NC State last year, North Carolina last year as a couple of examples, like recent ones. This game kind of reminds me a little bit of, going up to North Carolina last year to Chapel Hill. We got off to a good start in that game, but couldn't sustain it in the second half. Our defense just got, our secondary just got shredded those first couple possessions, and we were kind of dug ourselves a hole. But we're not playing a quarterback as good as Drake May in that game. So I feel like talent-wise, we should be able to get that win. but that one's not a trap game because, again, Louisville's a good team, probably going to be ranked. I don't know. Let me see who they play before that. They play Austin P week 1. That's a win. Jacksonville State. That's a win. Ooh, Georgia Tech. That's going to be an interesting game. Georgia Tech's probably I would say, is going to beat them. But then again, it's in Louisville. I don't know. That could be a really good game. Wow. Okay. Have that one circled. They play Notre Dame the following week, who I think they beat Notre Dame last year. And then they play SMU and then Virginia. Okay, so they got a tough 3-game stretch with Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and SMU. That's no joke. So they might lose 1 or 2 of those. We'll see. I could still see that game against Louisville being a night game, though. Let's catch up on some of these comments. We played Cal in the Craft Bowl in Cali. Jacory was our QB. They had the best running back and beat us. I don't remember. It was the Emerald Bowl, actually. 2008. It was 2008. It was Jacory's freshman year. That was the year we had him and Robert Marv, and end of the year just kind of became Jacory. And we had all those freshmen. Yeah, we hung with them. It was a tight game, but yeah, they just had too many bodies. We didn't have the depth. But yeah, I remember that game very well. Very frustrating. We could have won that game. But that was in basically a home game for Cal because if I remember correctly, it was played where the San Francisco Giants play their home games. It used to be called Pac Bell. I don't know what they call it now. Where Barry Bonds used to hit them into the Bay. I don't know what it's called now. But that's where we played that bowl game. I remember that vividly. It was 2008. Yeah, that was a frustrating one. North Carolina running back is number 1 in the ACC. He is really good. That's an excellent running back right there. You're right. I kind of momentarily forgot about him. Jaden Ott is ridiculous, though. He is ridiculous. Let's see how this season plays out. I mean, they're pretty close. Bowl game versus Wisconsin with Jacket as a starter, which I think was game Greg Cooper blew out his knee, was heartbreaking. Yes, I remember that one as well. That was the following year. That was 2009. We finished the year 9-3. That was Jacory's first year as the full-time starter, and he had all that Heisman hype early in the season because we had that gauntlet to start the year. It goes Florida State, Georgia Tech. We beat them both, kicked Georgia Tech's ass. Va-Tech kicked our ass. And then we beat Oklahoma. And yeah, we finished 9-3. I remember that one. And I remember going into that Wisconsin game super confident. It was foregone conclusion. It was a win because of our speed. But then you forgot about the trenches. And they had a guy by the name of J.J. Watt. You may have heard of him. Yeah. And that is where Greg Cooper blew out his knee. That's a shame. Greg Cooper was on his way to having, I thought, a nice NFL career. He was projected as a 3rd or 4th rounder. He was going to go in the draft that year, and he ended up staying because he blew out his knee. It sucked. I fell for him. Greg Cooper had a bright future. Anyway, all right, let's go back to the schedule. Where were we? Okay, Louisville. So I think we decided Louisville, not a trap game. Go to, obviously, FSU at home, homecoming, all eyes will be on that game. So no chance at all of a letdown there. But you are coming off that stretch, Va-Tech, Cal, Louisville. It does get kind of, it gets kind of sneaky tough for a few games there. You got to make sure you're winning, get to Florida State with at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least a 6-1 record. I would love that. But then after Florida State, this definitely is a potential trap game for obvious reasons. Duke. We all know who's the new head coach at Duke. Our good friend Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz, we haven't seen him be a head coach since he left Miami. He was a defensive coordinator at Penn State for the last couple of years, did a solid job. We all know he's a very good defensive mind. He has that style that's very aggressive. He likes to blitz and get after the quarterback, and I think this game is going to be no different. He's going to want to get after Cam Ward and get after him early and often. But we know from experience, if you can find a certain play, if you can find a chink in the armor, like a counter or a little slip screen, bubble screen, something that he just has no answer for. He's not going to be able to find an answer for it during the game. That's for sure. So you can just run that play over and over and over and over, and we could potentially blow them out. It should be a blowout regardless. If we lose to Duke, I'm never giving the school again. I'm guessing you meant you're never giving the school money again. I don't blame you one bit. I may join you in that. But no, that for obvious reasons, that cannot be a loss. You got to win that game. Only reason I would call that a trap game is, yes, we're going to be up for that. We're going to be up for that game. Certain guys, not everybody, because again, it's Duke. It's Duke. Look, first year under a new head coach. They just lost I can't think of his name right now. The head coach that was there for the last couple of years, he just went to Texas A&M, which was a great move for him, I thought. He had that program heading in the right direction. He's an excellent coach. Excellent coach. And he's gone, along with their quarterback. He's gone. Now they got Malik Murphy. He is talented, certainly has a high ceiling. That's somebody, Mike Elko. Thank you, Joaquin. Mike Elko. He leaves. Riley Skinner leaves. Them two were like the heart and soul of the team. The team went as far as they did. So, I think it just kind of left them gutted, and this is the first year with Manny. So I don't know. I'm feeling pretty confident about that one. I'm just, wondering if there's any kind of like voodoo hex curse on the team or on the stadium, because it is at home. I feel like that's the game it would kick in, but no, I just feel like again, the depth, the veterans, the leadership at quarterback mainly, I think it's going to keep that from being an upset loss. Could they make it close? They could. I hope we beat them by 60. But let's see what happens there. But yeah, that Duke one is an interesting one. The Duke quarterback went to Notre Dame. Yeah. Skinner, right? That's the one I'm thinking of the right name. Yeah, he went to Notre Dame, which great acquisition for them. I thought that was really good. I remember when Cam Ward decided he was going to go to the NFL, and we were looking at like secondary options. He was one that I was seriously considering, because like, man, plug him in here. Just if he keeps the turnovers low, he could do some things with this offense. But then of course we got Cam Ward, and it all worked out. John, how do you feel about South Florida? They have a dynamic quarterback. Riley Leonard. Yeah, I felt like Skinner was the wrong name. I'm thinking of a different quarterback entirely. I'm sorry. Riley Leonard. Thank you, 904. Appreciate it. Yeah, Byron Brown is the South Florida quarterback, and I love him. I hope he hits the portal after the season for, no particular reason. But yeah, he's dynamic for sure. I think their whole offense is good. I mean, they go as far as he goes. He's the engine that drives that car. So yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous about facing him. I just don't think they're going to be able to stop our offense. And if we don't have a bad fumble here and there or a bad interception early in the game, I think we'll get ahead by a couple scores and just kind of stay ahead. It'll probably be a high scoring game. I wouldn't doubt that, but I think we'll stay ahead. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if y'all remember in 2000, we had one random game in the middle of the season. I mean, we're clicking. We're on our winning streak. We're hot. We beat FSU. We beat Vatek, Michael Vick, all that stuff. I think right after that game against Michael Vick, we had a night game against Louisiana Tech. That's who it was. And it was when they had one of the McCown brothers. I want to say it was Luke McCown. Luke or Josh, one of the two. And I remember we won that game like 56-42 or something like that. It was super high scoring. Never felt threatened that we were going to lose the game. I remember this. We stayed like a touchdown or two ahead the whole time. Like, they can't stop us. We can't get them off our tail because we can't stop them. So don't be shocked if the South Florida game kind of goes like that. I'm thinking of other group of 5 opponents that we faced recently. Temple, we destroyed. There was that Toledo game a few years back. We went up on the road and we beat the hell out of them. They had a decent quarterback, but this kid's a different level. And I think Alex Golesh, their head coach, is an excellent head coach. He's one of the young up and comers in the game right now. Yeah, that could be a competitive game, at least for the first half, but look for us to pull away in that one. Just stop the nonsense. What nonsense? Uncle Joey, please be specific. What nonsense? You might be behind in the video. I may have said a lot of nonsense on this video. Forecast for the Florida game is 89 degrees, 50% chance of rain. Fantastic. Awesome. I hate rain. I hate when we play in rain, but that's one thing that I think could sway it in the Gators' favor, honestly. Well, actually, no. I take that back. Because Graham Mertz, I mean, if Florida wants any chance in this game, it has to be a game where Graham Mertz gets the short passing game, like the quick passing game going. That's the only way they do it, and taking the ball away. Again, rain, protect the football, no fumbles. If you check that box off, then, if it's a rainy game, Graham Mertz might not be able to get that passing game going, and he may be forced to run it a little bit more. I think if they have to run it a lot and we have to run it a lot, I actually give us the advantage because our D-line against their O-line, that could be very ugly. Did you see where Pete Thamel of College Game Day Podcast says he thinks FSU has the best defensive line in the country? I meant their starters are fierce, but overall I disagree. I mean, they got Patrick Payton, who's a stud. But man, best in the country. I know that one dude from PFF. I'm forgetting his name right now. Forgetting a lot of names in the show. Damn, my bad, guys. Is it Wasserman? One of the guys on PFF said that Miami has the best defensive line in the country. Which, yeah, Patrick Payton, he does apply constant pressure. He's excellent. He's an excellent defensive end. They always seem to have an excellent pass rusher, even on years that they're bad. I remember years ago, Everett Brown. You remember him? They didn't have a very good team, but they had him coming off the edge. And then there's another, or Jermaine Johnson. That was another one recently. They weren't very good, but they had him. He was a first rounder. Yeah, Patrick Payton's very good. They have a solid D line. I agree. Their starters are pretty good, but best in the country. Duke and South Florida games are going to be blowouts. Uncle Joey, I agree. 90% chance, yeah, they're probably going to be blowouts. But you have to remember, we have said that for many, 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 many years. How many times have we said Duke, no problem, and then they beat us? South Florida. Do you remember that game in 2011? Yes, 2011 that we beat them 6-3 up in Tampa? I do. Okay. Now, we have a much better team than back then. I agree. But so do they. They actually have a quarterback. They didn't have shit back then. So, again, it's just a matter of who shows up. If it's a situation where a Hurricanes team shows up to Tampa that's messing around, muffing punts and committing bad penalties and, not putting two hands on the ball, dropping passes, believe me, anything is possible, Uncle Joey. We're just trying to, I'm just saying percentage-wise, yes, it's high chance, high probability we win those games. But I'm telling you, there's also a high probability that you look at those games on the schedule as a player or as a coach and be like, we're going to be fine. And then you don't get up for the game. That, to me, is what a trap game is. You don't get up for the game, and then it bites you in the ass. FSU has 3 buys this year because their game is in week 0. Yeah, I feel like that's too many. 2 is good. I like 2 bye weeks. 3, I feel like that'll throw off your rhythm, especially with that travel. Don't ever mention 6-3 USF game ever again. Yeah, man. You know what? Just for funsies, I might look that one up later because I haven't thought about that game in a while. It just came to me right now. I'm like, we lost to USF, didn't we? We almost lost that one. We lost to USF the year before. I just remembered that at home. That was the game that got Randy Shannon fired. So we've lost to both teams before. Like, let's not act like we haven't. I'm just trying to, keep us grounded. Lagway can move too. He isn't stiff. Yeah, I mean, if Lagway plays, which is bigger than Tim Tebow. Yeah. Yeah, Lagway, he can add an interesting wrinkle into Florida's offense if he plays week 1. They'll probably have a series or 2 for him. I wouldn't be surprised, but they, up front, we just got to take care of business. When you have such a good front seven, can take chances as a DB. Yes, true. And I can't remember the last time we had this good of a D line. Maybe 2018 when we had the number 4 defense. That was when we had Gerald Willis and who else do we have? Garvin, all those guys. Joe Jackson, I think, was on that team. Yeah, 2018 was a great one. And then Norton and McIntosh should have stayed that year. That would have been insane. But yeah, I think that was the last time we had a front 4 that can get after the QB on their own. And look what happened. We had a top 5 defense. We just couldn't score that year. But yes, having that D line this season will allow you to take some chances. It'll buy some time, or really it'll cut down on the time that the DBs will have to cover. If they have to cover 4 or 5 seconds, someone's getting open. But if you only have to cover for a second and a half, much easier. 2 seconds, a lot easier to hold your man if it's not more than that. It's really hard. It's really hard to not believe the hype this year, John. Agreed. I am swimming in the Kool-Aid right now. You can't see it from the waist down. I'm literally sitting in a tub of Kool-Aid. Watermelon, if you're wondering. Yeah, I'm deep in the Kool-Aid, man. Don't worry. I believe in the hype this year. I tried not to last year. My prediction was 8-4. We were 7-5. I wasn't too far off. My prediction the year before that, Mario's first year, that one I was a little more delusional. I think I said 8-4, 9-3, but we didn't foresee the injury issues. But anyway, it's hard not to believe the hype this year, John. If not now, then it might never happen. Everything has to come together. Everything has came together the way it should. 10 wins minimum. I agree with your 10 wins minimum, Casey. That is, that's where I set the bar for this team. Anything below that to me is a failure, unless you go 9-3, but you beat Florida and Florida State. Then I'd forgive it. Then to me, that's real progress. Then you're winning in-state recruiting battles. You beat your rivals. Then it feels much better if you beat your rivals. But yeah, 10 wins overall, to me, that's kind of where the bar is set. See, Cristobal has improved the D and the O lines. It's time to start smashing teams like Duke, Virginia Tech, of the world. 10 wins. Yeah, look, what's kept us from beating those teams over the years consistently is just that trench play. We go up against Duke and get pushed around by the future doctors and lawyers of America, who are much smaller than us, yet they push us around. They're better coached, because those were all the David Cutcliffe years where they had a nice spread offense. Virginia, how many times did they upset us on like a random Thursday night game? Georgia Tech's been back and forth. I feel like there's been times where we've kicked their ass. There's been times where they've kicked our ass. It's been really back and forth, especially through that Paul Johnson era. Either we were stopping the option or we were getting killed by it. But my point is, if you fix the trenches, which they have, another reason I am swimming in the Kool-Aid right now is the trenches have been more than fixed. They have been solidified and fortified with talent, proven talent, and size and athleticism. So yeah, that's reason number 1, I'm believing the hype, Cam Ward. Reason number 2, a very close second, the trenches on both sides have been solidified. You have better trenches and a better quarterback, you're going to win most of the time. It's that simple. See, Vatek has a nasty D, good running back this year. They have a QB every bit or maybe more physically gifted than Cam Ward. I totally agree with that. Kyron Drones is the truth. You don't believe me? Maybe haven't watched too much of him. Go watch tape on Chiron Drones of Virginia Tech. That dude is sick. He is for real. Him and Byron Brown both, and we play them in consecutive weeks. Team has been putting out for practice. I have. I really have enjoyed it. I like that they've put that series out. And I was listening to, I want to say it was Brian Smith on Dono's show, that, you know, for years we didn't release stuff like this. And because I think we had another series during like the Al Golden days, another little YouTube series when that sort of thing was like kind of a new thing. But then for years we didn't do it. Now we are. And Mario Cristobal isn't one to really share what's happening behind the scenes. That's why I thought it was kind of odd that they actually did this. But then again, you think about it like, okay, what does that tell you? And that's what Brian Smith said on the show. I want to say it was yesterday. What does that tell you? That tells you that Cristobal has a product that he's confident in, like, you know, pulling back the curtain and kind of showing you a little bit of what's going on. He's got some faith in this team right now. I'll tell you that. That shows it a lot. Radio Shannon, Al Golden, and Manolo Diaz is the reason we've been pushed around. Listen, we've had weak trenches because of those guys. Yes, I agree with you. I like the videos they used to put off a National Signing Day. I remember those. Number 31 is going to eat this year. Yes, he is. I cannot wait to see Wes perform. He had such a sensational spring. Yeah, we're very deep in the front seven. But did I go through the whole schedule? You know what? Yeah, Duke, Georgia Tech. There's a couple of more games. Let's see what else might be a trap game here before I log off. Duke, Georgia Tech. Again, not a trap game because it's on the road. And I think Georgia Tech is actually going to be very good. Don't be surprised if they're ranked. I think Georgia Tech is going to finish as a top 25 team. I love what Brent Key's doing over there. They have a legitimate quarterback. He's a legitimate dual threat. They have a 1,000-yard receiver. They have a 1,000-yard running back and like an 800-plus yard receiver coming back. And Georgia Tech is ranked number 7th in offensive returning production this year. They have a lot of guys coming back and 4 starting offensive linemen. That Georgia Tech offense is solid. Solid. Okay? And it's going to be in their house. All right? So that's not going to be an easy one by any means. And then after that, you got Wake Forest at home. I honestly have no idea how good Wake Forest is going to be this year. They shouldn't be that good, honestly. But that's one reason why that could be a trap game, kind of like the last test. Because Syracuse, they got a new coach taking over. I just think that's too tough for them, something for them to overcome, especially if we're coming in ranked and like the season is on the line, Thanksgiving weekend against Syracuse. We're going to come in ready to play. Wake Forest, last home game, might be looking ahead to that last game for whatever reason. That Wake Forest game could get tricky. So yeah, there's definitely a few trap games in this schedule. I think every schedule has them, but we got to be prepared. There's a few people picking VTech to be in the ACC championship game. One guy picked them to win it. Yeah, you know what? And I'm not shocked by that because of their quarterback. And they, like us, have a head coach going into their 3rd year. So there you go. Let's see. Returning production. 904. You did your homework. Returning production. FSU is ranked number 83 and G-Tech is ranked number 7. Yeah, I don't know how that line is still 12.5 or whatever it is. John, are you still concerned with Florida? No Montrell Johnson. Elijah Badger not even starting. Right side of the O-line concern. Because we still have to go in there and take care of business, Juan. Believe me, I have picked this apart so many different ways. I don't see many ways where they upset us. I really don't. You know, I'm trying to think of potential monkey wrenches that you can throw into this. Maybe it's a torrential downpour. Maybe somebody important gets hurt. Hopefully not. I'm concerned because it is a rivalry game and because so much is riding on it. That's why I'm concerned. I believe they're winning. Don't get me wrong. But we still got to go in there and take care of business. This is all theory up to this point. We got to go in and take care of business. But yes, no Montrell Johnson, that's huge for them. And that's why if there's inclement weather and both teams have to rely on the run game, they don't have their key guy. We have many key guys. We have our offensive line. Their defensive line is good. I give the edge to our O-line there. And our D-line against their O-line, oh, dear Lord. Oh, that could get messy for them. See, I could talk myself into thinking, hey, it's gonna be easy, but no, it's in the swamp. It's the season opener. That place is gonna be rocking for Florida. So still got to go in there and get the job done. It's by no means a done deal. All right. Let's put this out there. Yes, book it, baby. Canes are beating Florida by 21. I got to end on a nice positive note, sense of positive vibes out there to the team. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to go get some rest. I will be doing my season prediction video very soon. I'll drop that sometime before the season starts. So like in the next week or so. And next Tuesday, I'm going to try to have a guest on, hopefully multiple guests because it's my last live before the actual game. I will be at the watch party in Orlando. I know a bunch of you guys probably will. Please, stop by, say what's up. I mean, I've met some of you guys already, so, say what's up again. But yeah, don't be shy. Come hang out with us. I think the party's already like booked up or sold out or whatever. So if you're one of the lucky ones that are already in, I'll see you guys there. But anyways, until then, please, everybody have a good night. This is our last. Actually, I was going to say this is our last weekend before college football, but no, college football starts this weekend. It's game week for certain teams, but I cannot wait to. I can't wait for the season to start. I'm hyped. Anyways, as always, go Canes. Go down and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and have a good night. Take care, everybody.